All right, testing 1, 2, 3. All right. All right, so in today's live stream, we're going to be going over on adding some more overlay states and perhaps refining the drop, implementing the inventory system for the rifle and the pistol as well. So far, what we currently have, the systems that we currently have is the pickup system. So they can pick up the weapon and you can also drop the weapon, simulating the physics. So as you can see, if I try to step up on the weapon, it moves because the physics are enabled, as you can see right there. So I'm just going to pick it up again, and you can also holster the weapon. You also equip the weapon, as you can see right there. And now I think what we're going to go over today is picking up the rifle now, because we can already pick up the pistol and it works great. Now we're going to have to manage the inventory system and go ahead and make the character to be able to pick up the rifle as well. All right, so let's do that right now. So the first thing I'm going to do here is create a Boolean variable that is going to be called HasRifle. Enhance. I'm going to keep it very short. And I'm going to create another Boolean variable, which is going to be called HasRifleHolstered. So that you know if the character is already holding the rifle or is already equipped. If the rifle is already equipped. So I'm going to do HasRifle is holstered. Let me see, HasRifleHolstered. Let me see what else. Okay, let me just take a look at the pistol system. So we've made a blueprint called Pistol1H. It's a blueprint class. And if you click on that blueprint, it opens up the editor. And here, as you guys can see, we have the skeletal mesh of the pistol. So I'm planning to create a separate blueprint class. I think there is already here. Let me just see. If I click on the M4A1 and go to browser.asset, as you can see, we have the rifle in here. And in here, as you can see, it's pretty simple. I think I'm going to create a box in here. So I'm just going to copy this and then try to paste it in here. So paste it. So this is going to allow the box trace to be identifying the rifle's mesh, right? So I'm just going to increase the size of it. That matches the rifle. I think this could be it. Okay, I guess this is fair enough. I'm just put this a little bit lower. All right, I think that's enough for the rifle. So this box is going to be representing the location of where the rifle is. And for the box collision, you have to pay attention in here because the collision, the object type has to be weapon. Has to be weapon. And in here, I think we can create a... I'm thinking about to create a numerator value inside the variables in here, so that inside that variable, we can read that variable and we can pretty much define if that weapon, if that type of weapon is a rifle or a pistol. But I'm still thinking about it. What's the best method for doing this? So in the system, in the code itself, we have to basically separate the types of weapons that we could potentially pick up, right? So as soon as you press the letter F, we can pick up the weapon. And then here it checks for if the character has the pistol in his hand. And then here we have to identify the weapon and we have to specify what kind of weapon it is. So if it's the pistol, then we have to make it very clear that it is a pistol or a rifle. So I think the best place to do that, I think it's in here. So you can get all actors of a class. And then in here, we can type M4A1, which is the rifle that we have. And then in here, we can promote that to a variable and call it to be rifle. And then in here, based on this branch, we're going to decide if it's a pistol or if it's a pistol that we're identifying or the rifle, right? But I'm still thinking about it. If we could just add a tag to the pistol, but that would make the system a little bit more harder to set it up. Or maybe we could, no, I think that's not gonna work like this. Okay, maybe we could add a tag on the component tags. So here you can add, for example, pistol, so that we can identify it later in the blueprint. Or we could go to the class defaults and type tag. So here, as you can see, we have the actor, and then on the section down below, we have the advanced and tags. So we can add a new tag and type maybe pistol to see if that's gonna work out inside the code. And for the M4A1, I'm going to go to do the same thing. Click here on the M4A1 self. You could also click on the class default. I think it works the same thing. And then we're going to add the tag, and then in here you're going to choose rifle. I think that's going to be enough for us to be able to read that in here. So if you type tag, and then we have the actor has a tag. Now if you type pistol, and if that's true, then we can print out in here. So let's just print it out to see if the tag matches with the pistol. Sometimes we have to reset and refresh, delete the weapon in the word and add it again, but I think that's not the case right now. So let's say, let's test it out. Let's press F, and now it is true, as you can see right there, which means that as soon as you've added in here, which means that the actor name that we gave in there, it worked. Now if I type rifle, let me just see if that rifle, and press on play. And if I try to pick up the weapon, it's going to tell me false, because that's not the tag attached and assigned to that actor. So there is a function here called, actually no, there is a Boolean here which is called found pistol. But it's used for this one. Let me think about it. Pistol. Yeah, so I guess we could create like for now we could create a one variable for each one. So I'm going to create a variable, a Boolean variable called has identified, something like has pistol tag, and another Boolean called HasRifle tag. And then in here we're going to do something like this. So let's just create a function out of this. And this function name is going to be called TagIdentifier or something like that. So this is going to be useful for identifying which tag. How do I type that? Which tag is assigned. Just identify. Identify which tag is assigned to the weapon. And in here we are going to have to need the generic hit actor reference. So we're just going to go ahead and get that generic hit actor. And then in here we're going to drag over our has pistol and rifle tags, Boolean variables. And before running this code, we need to set the default values to be default ones. And that's very important to prevent bugs. Prevent bugs. And now we can finally check for the rifles. So just going to plug that in there. So if the generic hit actor has the pistol as a tag on the actor, we're going to set the pistol tag to true, so that in the code we're going to tell the code that the box trace has identified the pistol. And in case it is not, the pistol, then we're going to type a rifle in here so that we can actually search for the tag. So if it has the tag pistol, it's going to set the pistol tag. And let's just, we don't need to disable anything in here. And if in case it has the rifle tag, we're going to enable it to be in here. And if in case it doesn't have any tag, then we're going to tell something to be, let's choose a text color. I think it's going to be red. The key is going to be maybe a random value like this. And in the string, we could just say actor doesn't have a valid tag. And then in here, we're going to return, actually don't need to use that node for now. All right. Yeah, I think actually do. Let's just return that node instead. I'm going to plug that in there. And then after the tag identifier, we're gonna need the values. So if the box trace has found a pistol, then we're going to proceed with this code, with this execution flow in here. If it doesn't, then we're going to check for the rifle. And we're going to follow the execution here, right below. Here, we're going to do the same thing. So let me just plug this, just move this up. Yeah, right now it looks a little bit messy because, you know, it's very much the same code. Just the top code is very much almost the same as the code below. But in the future, we're going to organize this so that it requires less code in order to set everything up. But in the prototype phase, you can expect all this mess in here because it's in the prototype phase and we have to just, you know, remove codes, test things out to see if they're going to work or not. If they don't work, then it's easier for you to be able to have precise control over, you know, deleting the node. Then deleting the node that you don't need. It's very much easy, just cut this. But later you're going to be able to make a more compact version that doesn't require that much of setup. So here I have the foot correction, and then after it checks if there is more than one rifle in the world, we're going to pass that test, pass that check, and we're going to attach the pistol attach phase. In this case, it's the rifle. In this case, it's the pistol. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to play the animation to correct the foot. In case if it's not corrected, we're going to block the movement input temporarily. This delay duration is for waiting for that foot correction. And then finally checks if the character is still alive, because the character might be dead depending on what happens in the game, because the game is very dynamic and you have to prepare the code in a way that it prevents potential bugs and potential states that the character can be at while the game is still running. As you can notice, I think we're going to have to change those Booleans in here. In this case, okay, so let's say, for example, the character is holding the weapon, and then he goes ahead and try to pick up a rifle, but when he picks up the rifle, in this case, it would be with the right hand. I think it's better for the character to firstly holster the weapon, the pistol in this case, that's already in his hand, before he can actually pick the rifle. So what's gonna happen is that if the character is holding the weapon, is already holding the weapon in his hand, and if he tries to pick up the rifle, we're going to make it so that the character can firstly holster the pistol first, and then he's going to be able to play the pickup animation for picking up the pistol, the rifle, so that the character can be, after picking up the rifle, the character can be able to use the rifle right away. I think that's the best way to do this, to handle this situation. And let me find out where is the best way to do this. If I pick up the weapon, and if I try to pick up the rifle, it says I already have the same pistol. I'm just check if the tag is correct. Rifle. Yes, it is. Let me just check if... It says I already have the same pistol. Ah, okay. Risk said, please show how to set up melee and rifles, pistols, and grenade throw for GASP, please. I want to make the Star Wars game. Yeah, we're already setting up the rifles for now in this tutorial. I'm familiar with overlay states, so that's great. Overlay states are very, very powerful, especially for the ALS. ALS overlay states are very, very good. Yeah, I'm planning to add the rifles and the pistol I already have added in here as an overlay state. And then later we're going to add the rifle. We still have to add the rifle overlay state. And then in the future, I'm just going to put that in here. We have also knife as a overlay state. And there's also grenade or some sort of rock. Any kind of throwable item you can throw. So I'm gonna select grenade. I don't know how to actually write grenade. I think it's right. No, it's grenade. All right. I don't have a use ALS assets. Yeah, you don't have to necessarily use it. You can use your own assets if you want to, but it requires a little bit more of expertise to set up. So I have the grenade, knife, rifle. Yeah, very good. All right, if the character has the pistol 1H in his hands, I think that's not a check that we have to do right now, because we have different blueprints. So just cut this, but this is this is definitely a important information that we have to add. Have to have in the code, but I don't know where to put it. I don't know where to put it. I think the best place ever to put that is in here. But I'm gonna have to check what happens after this. So I'm gonna just test it out to see what happens in here. So after this delay, we check and just see what's going on. Okay, so we pick up the pistol. We press the letter F again to pick up the rifle. Okay, so it corrects the foot. Okay, that's very nice. So yeah, that's very good. We can use the same moment. We can use the same time frame that the character uses for correcting his own foot, right? And then we can, in the meantime, we can holster the weapon. We can holster the weapon. Can we holster the weapon? Just find. Yeah, we can holster the weapon. So in here, when you press Q, I think we can run this code. And what we want to do is holster the pistol first. And then as soon as you press Q, it checks if the character is playing any montage, and it is going to be playing. So we need to have that in mind. So we basically need to ignore the turn montage because the foot correction montage. And that's a little bit more complex to do. That's why I have trouble following a bit, as I used my own animations and my own weapon models. Wouldn't it be better to make an array of all current weapons, or a data table maybe, and then pull current weapons instead of checking for pistol, rifle, to make it more scalable? Might be true. I love long-term scalability more than quick functionality. Yes. Yes, I also do that. I also do love that. Make an array of all current weapons or a data table. Yeah, data tables. Data tables. I still have to learn about them. I don't know how to. I think I forgot how to set up data tables. Yeah, I think it all depends on what kind of game do you want to achieve. But for now, I think I'm going to stick with Booleans. For now. Yeah. I think I can set up a data table for retrieving what's the current weapon. So let's say this is the current weapon. This is going to be a Boolean, or there's going to be a data type in here, which is going to determine if this is a pistol that the character is holding right now, what's the current weapon that the character is holding. We can have that information. And and if like which weapon the character is holstering, and which type of weapon the character is currently holding. Yeah, I don't know, but I have to think about it later. This is okay. I have an idea. Let's get the mesh of the character. Because in the code I only need to know if this montage is playing. So just going to get the enum instance, and I'm going to get the is montage playing, and then I'm going to just select the montage, and then I'm just going to cut that. If it is false, I'm just going to check for that. If the character is just correcting his food. If the character is just correcting his food, then we can proceed with the holster state. I would pay you, Risk said, I would pay you to teach me more about the pickup drop system. For real, I'm willing to pay like $60 for or more to have a one-on-one session, maybe. Yeah, we can. You can contact me on Discord. I can help if you want to. All right. All right. So as soon as we press Q, we pass through those executions. Let me just see if we play. Okay, got it. Yeah, I think we don't necessarily need to have that one coding there. Maybe we could just go ahead and go to the holster pistol phase. And then this is going to change the state. And then finally we're going to play the holster pistol animation. I don't know why you have a lot of execution outputs in here. Let me just close that. And let me see what happens in here. Okay, so the character is going to just equip his weapon, equip the pistol, and Yeah, my brain is just not working right now. Yeah, there's so much to consider. As I said, I use GASP and custom assets, so I would require a hands-on tutorial approach if possible. Then let me know. Also, I can help you to replicate all of that code super fast. I've been testing replication in GASP and got really good at it lately. Equip pistol. And this is the equip phase. Place pistol on carriage's hand, which is holster place. I don't know how that's called, holster place. All right. Let's just play this holster pistol and let's see what happens next. Right, so before that delay, after playing the foot correction and blocking the movement input, because it has to be blocked, otherwise the player is still going to be able to move the character, and that's not what we want. So as soon as the character picks up the weapon, if he's moving, he's going to stop moving first. And even if the player presses any key to jump or do any other action like crouch, the character is not going to be able to do any action like that, which is going to prevent a lot of bugs in the future. And if you have any other system that maybe you have any other key, any other input action, you have to make sure that you have to set up this block movement input Boolean to be checked before you can execute that action. And has pistol 1H in hands. So as we keep equipping the rifle, as we have the attach phase of the rifle, we have to check if the pistol is already attached to the character's hand. Now, we're going to call that custom event in here. Let me just see, holster pistol, which is just going to call that event to play the montage and holster the pistol first. So I'm just going to copy that and place it in here, or just copy the name and then call it here. So in case if we are in the rifle pickup system phase, we're going to just, and if the character is holding the pistol in his hands, we're going to firstly equip the pistol first. So let me just call that event. So if the character has the pistol in hands, we're going to holster the pistol, and this event is going to be true, so it's going to pass through, and the duration is going to be 80 milliseconds. Because I think that's the duration of how long the character spends for equipping, for holstering the pistol. So let me just see if that's gonna work. So just going to pick up the pistol. All right, that's great. Now I'm just going to try to pick up the rifle now. Okay, so that works. I'm just not sure why the character is looking to the right. I think that's due to, I'm gonna have to disable the, okay, maybe I'm tripping. Oh, okay, so if I do this, if I press the middle mouse button, I'm going to be able to move the character like this. So if I press F, the character is going to equip, it's going to holster the pistol first, and then he's going to try to pick up the rifle. It's not picking up the rifle right now because we don't have the socket set up yet. I think we already have the socket set up yet, but we don't have the socket set up in the code itself. So let me just check that out. If you go to the mesh of the character, if you go to lit, you're going to be able to see that we have the spine for rifle, which I've already added in here. It's a socket. And the parent is the spine 4. So as you can see, if I move the spine 4, which is the bone of the character, the weapon is going to follow the hierarchy. And you can also adjust, of course, the rotation of the weapon. So if you don't know how to add a socket yet, you're just going to right click on the spine, add socket, and then you have the socket to add in here. So all you gotta do now is just go to the skeletal mesh, copy the name of the rifle, the socket, and go to follow the execution. As soon as the character picks up, we can go to the event graph, and as you can see here, this event happens. This event is triggered when the character picks up any kind of weapon. So if you double click on that, you're going to see here, we're going to firstly check if the weapon is detected. Then we're going to firstly detect the pistol. But in here, we're going to do something a little bit different. So the socket name is going to also depend. We're going to do a select node right here. So select name. We're going to do A if it's hand R pistol 1H, if the socket is that. And based on a Boolean variable, which is going to be this one. So if it has the pistol tag, we're going to pick A, which is going to pick the correct tag, correct socket name, and it's going to attach to the right socket. Now, if it's not pistol tag, it's going to go down to B, which is going to go down to, we're going to just copy the name of the socket and paste it in there. So in case it doesn't have a pistol tag, probably we're gonna have to, it is going to be a rifle in this case, because we have only 1 or 2 right now. And we can probably do the same in here, so we can get a branch. And for the pistol 1H, we can just duplicate that and get the rifle overlay state, so that we're gonna have the animations of the rifle playing on the upper body of the character. So in case if the character has identified a weapon that has the pistol tag, we're going to change it to overlay state and just update the overlay state, which is going to update this in here. And now we're just gonna have to set the animations for the rifle, which is going to be, which is also, it's For setting up the rifle animations, the whole state, it's actually easy, but it demands a lot of time. I think I could do this in about 20 minutes. So the overlay state is going to be there, and then we can just set it to false so that it clears the box race results. So let's see if that if that's gonna work. Oh, my voice is so bad. All right, so we're going to pick up the pistol, and then if we try to pick up the rifle, yeah, it's not actually getting there yet. Let's see if we can. Okay, yes, here it is. Okay. So you also have another check for detecting only the pistol class. I think it is going to be a lot better if we create a master class, which is going to have which we can create a lot of types of weapons out of it. Or we could just follow with this example in here. I think that's going to be for later. As the system gets complex, we're going to have to refine it. So I'm just going to actually make another function, which is going to be named detect rifle. And then in here, I'm just going to create another Boolean called found pistol, found rifle in this case. And then I'm just going to change the Booleans in here. So I'm just going to change found to found rifle. And I'm also going to change the output name in here to be found rifle as well. Rifle. Pistol. Okay. And in here, this is called rifle, but it's actually rifles because we have a lot of references of the same rifle in there. So I'm just going to get it. Actually change everything. So I'm going to get the same node called for each loop with break. And I'm just going to delete this, delete that. And this is going to enter in here. Now I'm going to just promote the array element in here, and this is going to be called rifle reference. From now on, I think the code, the process of making the code is going to be a lot more boring. So it's actually, I think it's more fun to develop when we already have the game set up. We already have the assets. We already have the environment, and we already have pretty much all the locomotion part already done. And we're just refining things. I think that way becomes much more intuitive to just tweak the values and seeing which one works best while having fun while testing the game. So I'm just going to get another branch in here. Let's say, let's just drag and drop our detect pistol, detect rifle. I'm going to make this a pure function so that it only has the output result as the Boolean. So in case it detects the rifle, I'm going to put it to true so that it continues the execution to pick up the weapon. Right, we could do this in many ways, but that's just the way I found it's better for now. I think in the future we can collapse everything to a function, and it's going to be a lot easier to manage things, and it's going to be a lot more understandable after we set everything up. We already know what to do, and it's very much it's very much a matter of time until we can collapse everything to a function and make it a lot more convenient to change the parameters if you want to. Okay, I picked up the wrong one because I also have to change it in here. So I have to change this to, I'm going to separate this. I think it's going to be better for us to separate things. So this is going to go in here. Of course, we're going to have a lot of codes, as you can see. Well, we already have everything populated in here. It looks messy, but I think that's just the way how it works. Just learn while you develop. So I'm just going to go ahead and unplug this into here, from here, and plug the hand or pistol into the socket name. And this is going to represent the pickup pistol phase. And this one is the pickup rifle phase. So we can separate things. Right now is not the time to make a fancy code. It's the time to make a code that works, and it's functional and simple, and it doesn't need to be organized right now. But in the future, as we have everything set up, as we know that the code works, then we can start refining the code and making it a lot better with better nomenclature and things like that. So right now we're just testing things to see how they work, how the code is going to behave, if the code is going to work, and if we're going to have any bugs in the way, so that it's better for us to be able to fix it later. So I'm just going to get the rifle reference right now and get the reference of the skeletal mesh, because if you go to the M4A1 blueprint, we have the skeletal mesh in here. So we're just going to get it from here. So get skeletal mesh. You can just press enter. If you have the skeletal mesh between parameters, you can just press on play, press on select any one of them. And then in the skeletal mesh, you can just plug that into directly in here. So just plug that in there and works. Plug that to the target. So just make sure that you plug the skeletal mesh reference in the correct target into the correct input from the functions. So in here, it's going to just copy the spine 04 rifle. Oops. Break the execution in here. So if you want to just break it right away, you can just hold the left Alt button so that you can break the execution pin out of the function. So you can just left click. So press left Alt and left click on the mouse button so they can paste it in here. And I think that's going to be it. Let me just test it out to see if it's going to work. So press F. As you can see, we don't have it worked, but we don't have a very nice rifle pickup system animation. Rifle pickup animation. Right now, I think the character just put it on his back. Now, of course, that's going to depend on what you want to achieve. Maybe you want the character to, if the character is holding the pistol and if he presses F, I want the character to just holster the pistol first and then pick up the rifle and put the rifle in his bag to holster the rifle as well. Or we could just pick up the rifle but it should be on our character's hand, right? Just going to check it out how it is set up in the ALS, for example, or in the other project. Let me just see. Yeah, I don't know how it is set up in there. Let me just go to this ALS. Go to head. Okay, so this is the handgun. Maybe the handgun could do it for now. We're going to go to the hand R of the character. And we're going to add a new socket. And in here, we're going to type hand R rifle. I'm just going to right click in here and remove all attached assets so that we can have a clean reference of where the rifle is going to be. So I'm just going to add, after adding the socket, I'm just going to add a preview asset, and I'm going to add the rifle preview as a preview asset in here. And then in here, I'm going to preview an animation and select the rifle run. Yeah, there we go. I think that's very nice. It works. Think a little bit further. Now, of course, the rifle is not going to be perfect in the character's hand when we're playing the game, but I think we could have something like this to be played before we add the IK, before we work with the IK part. All right, so I'm just going to copy that name. I'm not sure what I've done is pick up the weapon and get into his hand, but pick up, but not equip it, but not holster it, right? So I think it is, yeah, I think it is. Now I'm just going to replace the socket name. I think this part of the code is only to pick up pick up the whatever weapon you're trying to pick up. So when you press play, if the whatever you're trying to pick up is the pistol, we're going to execute the code up in here. So as soon as you press play, that code is going to be executed on the top. And in case if I get the pistol first, and then I get the rifle, the code on the bottom is going to be executed. So press play. So as you can see, now the character has the rifle. And that took me 1 hour, almost 1 hour to make. Let me just see how much am I streaming for. Yeah, 1 hour. 1 hour just to do that. Yeah, it's very... But from here, I think the code is going to be, the process is going to be a lot faster from now on. Because we already have the structure, we already know what works and what doesn't work. And I think in the next stream we're going to work on the overlay layers. Overlay layers. Neman GFX said, damn, yeah, damn. Just to do that. And all this, all pure work. And on top of that, we're going to have to refine things a little bit better. But I think that's pretty much what we wanted to achieve today. Let me just check how the rifle is set up in the ALS. Where is it? Character logic, AI, animation main, character blueprint. If you go to the animation part of the ALS, and if you go to rifle, debug this, debug the character blueprint, and go to rifle, as you can see, you have all the overlay states. Now we also have poses for when the character is mentally, as you can see right here. Because if the character mentals, we're going to have a separate pose, and in this case, it's the we're going to use this pose right here when the character mentals, and we're going to only use a single time frame of that animation, which is in the 37 mark, dot 37, and which is this one. So we're going to hold the rifle right like this. I think that makes sense because we don't want the weapon to glitch on the surface. If you just unplug that, I think the character is going to be on the A pose when he mentals. And I'm just get the weapon. I have to get a 1 meter wall first. Yeah, I'm not sure, but somehow this is going to be used. The get up pose also matters, so if you ragdoll and get up, and if you're holding the rifle, you know, the character is going to be on that pose for a short time until the character completely gets up. As you can see right there. The character gets on that pose. Let me just see 25.25. 25.25, it's on this pose. Okay. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So explicit time. I'm just going to unplug that to see what happens. Sometimes you have to just be curious and learn by your own. So as you can see, the character glitches the weapon into the ground, and it doesn't look good. Alright, so I have the rifle relaxed. Here we play different poses for the rifle depending on the direction that the character is going. So this is going to depend on the character's velocity and direction. So if the character is moving forward, then we're going to use this this animation in here. Let me just see. It's going to have that kind of motion. We can also, I think we can also add that to the GASP if that makes it more realistic. Let me just see if that makes that more realistic. What's the difference if I make this to be a single frame animation and type that to be 25 and press on play? So I have the rifle. So as you can see, it moves it swings the arms a little bit more. If you only add one frame of that pose, it's not going to swing. Yeah, I think I prefer the single frame animation. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve and what kind of character do you have. I think it matters the most. But now if you're strafing, I think that changes. So it's going to change the pose. Oh yeah, we have the... Yeah, if you going to the right or left, as this is the rifle relaxed state, we cannot, if we try to aim, then it's going to go to another state, which is not what we're looking for right now. So if you go, depending on the direction you go, we have the blend mode, which is going to blend all of those poses depending on the alpha value in here. I think this is going to be 0, 1. Yeah, generally it is from 0, 1, so these are going to change. So I think if you click on watch this value, you're going to be able to see that in real time, which values are turning into 0, 1, depending on the character's direction. I think this is so much... Yeah, we cannot see that right now, but anyways, you get the idea. Now, I don't know what this is for. This is for the sprinting. Yeah, he swings the arms a little bit more. And this one. Okay, so if you try to sprint while holding the rifle. So as you can see, it's swinging the arms, they swing a lot more. If we remove all that, all the swing motion, and try to run, yeah, the character is going to glitch. I didn't expect that the character to glitch like this. Yeah, but I think this could be solved. Okay, I see. Yeah, I think this could be solved later. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to see how it is set up in the actual GASP plus ALS project that Polygons Hive made. And we're going to compare the difference and see which one, what's the most accurate code that we can have in here. So if you jump to the rifle ready, I think this is just for the crouched. Okay, we also have pulses. So we change pulses depending if the character is in the air as well. And we also add the secondary motion, which is basically the breathing animation. And I don't know why it is green. I think it is an additive animation. Yeah, I think the reason why it is green is because it's an additive animation, and it uses the ALS and pulse as a base to play that additive animation on top of it. And the alpha is 0.75. If we put it to be 1, the character is going to be maybe a little bit more tired, or the effect is going to be, it's going to give the character a little bit, it's going to give the character a feeling that he's a little bit more tired. I think if we set the play rate to be like 3, let me see what happens. It's going to be a lot more tired, as you can see right there. It's kind of funny. So if you have better animations than this one, then you can add it in here. You can do a blend. You can also do additives. If you have an additive animation like this, you can do that. If you don't have an additive animation, I think you could either make one or try to blend, try to do another type of blending in here. But I think additive works best, usually the most, because it works without, I think it prevents bugs a lot better. I think I'm going to let the play rate to be 3 in here. Keep the alpha value to be 1, so that you get the full blend. Yeah, I think I'm gonna let the play rate to be 1.5. Now for the rifle ready, what we have in here is, okay, so this, we have the standing poses, which is based on the weight gate. So if the character is either walking or running, so if the character is either in the idle pose or it's moving, this is going to change to 0 to 1. And we're going to also change the poses as well. So we're going to have this pose for when the character is in the ready state, but it's standing still. We're going to have this pose right here, 0.08, 0.08. And we're going to have the ready pose if the character is moving. That means if the character is walking or running, we're going to use the explicit time of the time of the animation as this one right here. So we're just going to select from this one to this one so that we can have a nicer blend of the legs in the process. Because if the character is moving, then the feet is going to be, you know, parallel, I don't know how to say that word. I think that's going to make more sense. So the secondary motion is it's basically how much tiredness you want to give to your character. So maybe this is going to be based on a sprint value and such. So as you can see, all this is very much modular, and you can set the values, and you can pretty much decide what's going to happen on a specific type of condition that is met in the game, as everything is being dynamic. Now for the aim state, we don't have that much special settings here, but we have the standing aim sweep, which is a pretty interesting section of this graph in here because it changes very much the time frame of the animation based on the player's input value. So as you can see, we have this animation here, and the reason why the character is moving like that, I always ask myself why the character is moving like that on a animation, and that could be something very weird, but it's actually very smart because we can basically select the time frame of the animation based on a float value. So as you can see here, this float value is calculated by, I don't know where, set. We have a calculation for calculating the time frame of where the animation. We're calculating this up and down movement of the mouse, the vertical axis. As you can see, when you move the mouse like this, we have a specific value that's going on, and we have to calculate like how much the character should, which specific part of the time frame of the animation the character should be at. And yeah, so we can calculate this value here, and it's called aim sweep time. So it is plugged into the explicit time, and then it chooses the time frame of the animation if it's zero, if it's either 0 or 1. I think this animation lasts 1 second, yes. And if it lets the time frame of 0.5, the character's aiming right in the middle. So pretty much, if you watch this value, you can see, press on play, and get the rifle. And as you can see, that aim sweep time is changing. So if I aim up, it gets to be 0. If I aim down, it gets to be 1, almost 1. Okay, that's actually interesting. This is a sequence evaluator, but it's actually an additive, and it's using the ALS props M4A1 pulses, no curves, as and it's using this as a pose for so here select the animation frame, and the reference frame index is 5. If you change it to be 10, it's going to change the pose, as you can see here on the mini graph. So just going to make sure that you select the right pistol, the right animation asset, the right frame for that additive. And in here we have that one. So maybe, oh, we can also select in here. Okay, great. Maybe in case if you want, you can select the frame 6, I think. No, his legs is not like that. His legs is more like this. The left foot is a little bit more up. Okay. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So the additive animation type is mesh space. The base pose type is selected animation frame, so that we can select the animation frame that you want to reference the additive base pose from. It took me a while to understand how these additive animations are, and we have two types of ways of applying a additive. We have the mesh space additive, and we have the, I think, apply additive, and this is going to apply the local additive. I think it is apply mesh space additive, and apply additive to normal poles. So it's pretty much almost the same thing. We have the base and additive. If you try to use this node instead, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see what changes. Yeah, it's going to change everything. So the character is going to glitch out like this. It's not going to look good. If you do local space, maybe that's gonna work. So let's just try it out again, just to, out of curiosity. Going to test it out to see if that's the case. Yeah, as you can see, so this works for the local for the local space. So if you want to use the local space way of blending for the additive, you can do that, and it works pretty much almost the same thing. As you can see, the character is pretty much, everything works good. But I think for some reason he chose to be on the mesh space. I think it works the best. So yeah, that's going to be basically it. The secondary motion applied on the, when you're aiming with the rifle, is the alpha is 0.5. I think it makes more sense because you don't want to have too much of effect when you're aiming. You want to have precise control when you're aiming. So as you can see, if you get the secondary motion to the animation to play a little bit more faster, you're going to be able to see that the character is really tired. And of course, you can customize those values to see which one works the best at which situation. Maybe you want to make this to expose to a pin, and once you added the play rate to be 2. And you can also do a promote to a variable, so that you can also, but this should be based on the variable that you have. So that when you press play, you can see that the character is really more tired now. It's much more tired. So you can edit the play rate and the alpha values to see which one to set. You have to set them based on the stamina of the character. Of course, when the character is standing still, the stamina is going to regenerate. So you can tweak those values to add a little bit more realism to how the character is feeling in the game. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for the stream. We've covered very much what we've needed to do, what we need to cover. In the next live stream, we're going to do the rifle overlay system. So I just showed you a brief overview of how that's going to look like, which states we have to consider before moving things to GASP, and what changes makes difference, what kind of setting makes the difference. Why don't we do this way and do that way? Kind of review. So yeah, that's going to be it, and I'm going to be doing the next live stream tomorrow. Hexmaniac said, thanks for the stream. You're welcome.